look delicious. Pickled okra. Who doesn't like pickled okra? If you don't like pickled okra, this might not be the one for you, because we're going to talk nothing but pickled okra. So stay tuned. I'm going to show you how to make it. Okay, so here's my okra. It's been sitting in this saltwater brine for about a week, okay? So this is what I do is I set my okra, because you know okra is going to float. I set it in the saltwater brine, and then I just get a pitcher, another bucket of water, or a container of water, just plain water, and I set it on top because the okra is going to float if you don't have it held down with another container of water. So that's what this is about. So I'm just going to go ahead and pour this water out. I don't need it. I'm just going to set that to the side. There's my okra. It's all clean. It's been sitting in brine, and it's ready to be put in the jars. So what we have here is all of the canning ingredients and things that I need. Right here I have 8 cups of filtered water. You want to use filtered water. It's best. It doesn't have all the chemicals in it that are whatever could be in tap water. So I use filtered water. This is 6 cups of vinegar, and you want to use a 5% white distilled vinegar, excuse me. You do not want to use apple cider vinegar. I promise you it will not turn out good if you do that. You want to use a 1/2 cup of pickling and canning sea salt. And you want to use a 1/4 cup of sugar. Now this is what's going to go into the brine, okay? The water, the vinegar, the sugar, the salt, and you have a tablespoon of your pickling spice, okay? So that's what this is. This bag right here is pickling spice. Get it off of Amazon. And so I have about a tablespoon here. So what you're going to do, this right here, the pickling spice, the sugar, the salt, the water, the vinegar, that all comes together and makes the brine. Then what you have here is dill seed, mustard seed, and garlic. Now you can put fresh dill in yours if you want, but I don't with the okra. I just put a little bit of dill seed in there. I leave fresh dill, spears of dill. I use that just for the pickles. But for the okra, I do put a little bit of dill seed in there, mustard seed, and your garlic. That's what you're going to put into your jars. I've got my pint jars. I prefer to use pint jars for my okra since they're shorter. Seems to go a long way when you do it that way. I also have my rings and my flats. My lids are here. They've been sterilized. My jars have already been cleaned and sterilized. I have my jar lifter. I have my wide mouth funnel. I have my lid lifter that I use to get the lids out of the hot water. And last video y'all saw, I forgot to use this. This comes in handy. You use this to get the bubbles out of your jars. Okay, so that's what that's for. And right here I have just a little bit of vinegar and a paper towel so that I can wipe the rims. Anytime you're canning, you just want to wipe the rims of your jars with vinegar just for extra sterilizing, okay? Back here I have my pot that's for the brine, and you'll see that there's already some brine in there. The last time I pickled, I had some brine left over and I just poured that in. I'm going to use it. And then I have right here, I have my canner. I'm going to go ahead and turn that off. You just want to get your water to about 140 degrees when you go to putting those jars down in there. And eventually, once you got your jars in there ready to can, you're going to use your candy thermometer. You can just use a meat thermometer or candy thermometer, and it's going to get up to 180 degrees, and we'll leave it at 180 degrees while it's canning for 30 minutes. But for right now, I'm going to get the brine ready to go. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and turn my fire on. I'm going to go ahead and start it at high. Excuse me, wrong one. There we go. Now, your pickling spice. I cannot find my cheesecloth, so I had an old t-shirt that I went ahead and cut up. It's just, you know, you can tell I've already used it. I've washed it in the washing machine, but this is what I use. It's just a strip of that t-shirt if you don't have cheesecloth. Okay, so I'm going to put that down in that right there. I'm going to bring it together, and you're going to make like a little ball, twist it, and then I have a string here that also come off that same shirt, and I'm going to twist that and tie that off real good. Okay, so you're going to have a pouch here, or a season pouch. Let's squeeze that real good, and then I'm going to knot it off, and there we go. So what I'm going to do first is I'm going to pour the salt. Now remember, it's a half a cup of salt and a fourth a cup of sugar. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and pour that down in here with the rest of that brine I've got. If you don't have extra brine, you got to pour the liquid in first. Okay, and I had like extra brine in there. So now I'm going to pour my filtered water in. And that's 8 cups of filtered water. And you've got your 6 cups of 5% white vinegar. Pour that down in there. Okay, and so I've got my my stove on high, and I'm going to bring that to a boil, and I'm going to dissolve that sugar in that salt. Okay, so once that starts boiling, I'll be back. Okay, so my brine is just about to the boiling stage, so what I'm going to do is start getting my jars ready. Okay, so I've got my okra, my dill seed, my garlic, my mustard seed, my jars, my rims, and like I said, my lids. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the jars, and I'm going to first start with the seasonings. Okay, let me flip them all the way over. I don't know how many jars I'm going to get, but I'm just going to start filling them. Hopefully I can get 8. That's what I'm hoping for. So you're going to take first 2 cloves, 2 or 3, don't matter. Just put you some garlic down in the bottom. I lost one. One's trying to get away from me. 2's trying to get away from me. So there's garlic down in the bottom. I've already washed it and cleaned the garlic. Just put as much garlic as you want down there. You don't have to chop it up because that brine will help infuse it. Infuse that garlic into there. Draws it out of it. I like lots of garlic in mine. Okay, so there's my garlic. I think I want more in this one. Okay, so now I'm going to take 2 teaspoons of dill into each jar. If you want more dill in it, you can. I've been meaning to tell y'all that we bought some of those those flavored pickles, and they were really, really good. You ought to give them a try. They had cheesecake flavor. We got the cheesecake, I think it was strawberry cheesecake. My favorite was the green apple. Green apple flavored pickles. Pretty good. Okay, so I've got I slided that one. I've got 2 teaspoons of dill in each one. And garlic. Now we're going to use the mustard seed in the same thing. 2 teaspoons each of mustard seed. And there's scripture in the Bible about a mustard seed, about faith. If you have faith as small as a mustard seed, you can move a mountain. Yes, indeed. So I was quite impressed. I did those pickles, those dill pickles, and they turned out so good. But of course, what do you do when you make dill pickles? I end up giving them away. People ask for them, and so I end up giving them away. I've only got 1 jar left. So I bought some more cucumbers, and I'm going to be pickling again. So I'm going to set that to the side. So I've got all of that spices, seasonings in there. So now you want to load your okra into the jar. I'm going to wash my hands real quick, okay? All right. Okay, so now we're going to and I like to put the tip side down, okay? So you're just going to take it and you're just going to line your jar. I usually try to hold it, hold the okra to the side and put as much as you can in there. See that? I'm going around the edges first and packing it down in there. And now I'm going to pack some down into the middle. That's about right. And so I think that's about, well, I think I can get one more little bitty one down in there. Let me do it. Yeah, there we go. So see, you see I got that packed down there pretty good, okay? Now, if you want it to be spicy, you can use some liquid pepper sauce and mix that with your brine, and you can make spicy pickled okra. I don't care too much for spicy pickled okra. Brother Cowboy might like it. I think he might want me to make him some, but most cases I don't make spicy pickled okra. So let's go ahead and line it again. I might not get a full 8 jars, but I sure am going to give it a good old try. That one didn't land right like I wanted it to. Turn around. Okay, so I'm down to the last jar, and I was 1 jar shy of having 8, so that's okay. Got pretty close. So my brine, which if you'll recall, brine is the vinegar and the water and the pickle seasoning, the sugar, the salt, all that together, boiling makes your brine. Your brine is what you pour into your jars that helps with the pickling process, helps your okra have that pickle flavor. Let me see if I can find a jar to set this in, because that jar head is too tight. I can't get any more in there, so let me see if I can find a little spot to put these 2 last ones. There's one right here. Right there we go. So I'm going to get 7 pints of pickled okra. Some people pickle eggs. Have y'all ever heard of pickled eggs? Don't even sound good to me. So what I'm going to do now that the brine is boiling is I'm going to drop the pickle seasoning, the pickling spices down in there. And I'm going to let that boil for about 15 minutes. Let that boil for about 15 minutes. Let all that pickling spices infuse with the vinegar and the water and the sugar and the salt to make your brine. This is what's going to help that okra pickle real good, to have that good pickle flavor to it. So let's let that boil for about 15 minutes and I'll be right back, okay? Here we go. The brine is all ready to be poured up into the jars, okay? So let's go ahead and get that done. Your kitchen probably, if you're following along, your kitchen probably smells like a pickle house. So you want to leave about a 1 to 2 inch headspace at the top. You don't want to go all the way up to the very top of your jar. You're going to have to give it some space, okay? I'd like to see some comments down in the comment section if you would. Let me know, what's the craziest thing you've ever seen pickled? I mentioned some pickled eggs. I've never tried them. I think I saw pickled ears of pig's ears before. So that'd be interesting to see what everybody has seen that's been pickled. Yes, I'm making a mess. I'm spilling some. That's one reason why that towel's here too, because you're probably going to spill some on the way over. And what I do is, like I said, if I have brine left over, I put it in a jar and I just save it, and you can incorporate it when you go and can again. And I made sure to put that chopstick real close to my jars, so I would not forget this go around. Well, yes, I'm going to have quite a bit of brine left over this time. Usually 8 cups of your filtered water and your 6 cups of vinegar for your brine usually gives you about 8 to 10 quarts. Of course, I'm doing pints, so it goes to figure that I have some left over. I'm going to put a little bit more in this jar right here. Oh, and some more in that one too. Sometimes you'll find that brine will settle down, and what you thought was an inch or two left up at the top ends up becoming 4. So just give it time to settle. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my little trusty chopstick. I'm just going to go around and poke it, because sometimes there's bubbles that settle down in there, and I can see some of the bubbles are being released, and you want to get rid of all those bubbles, okay? Yep, I can see some bubbles that come and floating to the top. Okra's trying to float to the top too, but you just push those back down. They ain't going nowhere. As you see, because they're trying to float, some of that brine has settled, so you may want to put a little more brine up in there. Try to poke those okras back down in, because see, they're wanting to float. See that one popped up? So there you go, and you just poke around, get all the air bubbles out of there. One thing that's different about the okra. The okra's going to try to float to the top. And you're just going to have to keep poking it back down in that brine. But you don't want to have it overfilled with brine to the top of the jar. because you got to have room for the canning process and the way when you can the air inside. You have to have the ability for the boiling process, and all. If you feel it too high, you're liable to blow a can off, a jar, the lid off. You got to give it time to process. Give it room to process. Okay, so there we go. There's that. Now what we're going to do is I'm going to wipe the rims with vinegar. That's just extra sanitizing, okay? In case any brine got on the outside. Want to get that real nice and clean. Now you're going to put your lids on. Yes, your flats or lids. You're going to put those on. Your rings, you're going to put those on. And then you're going to set it over there in that hot water bath. And this is called low temperature hot water bath canning is what we're doing. You don't want to do a pressure canner with these, because if you do, you cook the okra or the cucumbers too much, they're too mushy. So what you want to do is you want to do those open, hot water bath. So now I'm putting my rings on, and you just want to do it finger tight. And after I do that, we're going to put those down into the canner, and they're going to process. They're going to can. You're going to get your temperature gauge to 180 for 30 minutes. And in this process, you do want to cover your jars. So I'm going to go ahead and stick these down there. And I've got these two tubs of water over here, and it's just hot tap water. You don't have to use filtered water for this process. But I'm going to pour in enough water to cover them up. Good, it's only going to take one. Okay, so there we go. I've got them covered. I'm going to turn my fire on high, and you see my red gauge here? That's 180. I want my black dial to hit that, and it's going to stay at 180 for 30 minutes. Now, the thing about using, when you can, sometimes it'll turn your jars when you can. If you don't pour vinegar in your water, then what happens is the jars get cloudy. The outer part gets cloudy. And so, and it's not really anything wrong with that. It just doesn't look very aesthetic or very pretty. Your jars don't look pretty clear. They're cloudy. So putting vinegar in your water will help that, okay? So we're going to get this to 180 for 30 minutes, and then we'll be done. All right, it's been 30 minutes, and my jar of pickled okra has been in this water bath for 30 minutes at 180 degrees. And so now we're going to turn the fire off, and we're just going to use our jar lifter, and we're going to get them out of there. So what you want to do is when you pull them out, there's going to be water settled on the top. So you're going to want to just kind of tilt it to the side a little, get that water off, and set them on a towel, okay? And if you look at the jar, you can see things are kind of bubbling and moving around from the heat. You see that? And so they're still kind of cooking a little bit when you pull them out, but they'll stop. What's going to happen is you're going to start hearing a pop. And at the very top of your lid in the center, there's a a spot there that the jars cool and as they seal real good, you're going to hear a pop. And you want to hear that, okay? So that means that they are sealed. Now, what you want to do is let these set for 2 weeks. You do not want to open these jars for 2 weeks because that's going to take another 2 weeks for that fermenting and the brine to really infuse into the okra. And so in 2 weeks, you're going to want to open them. So the best thing to do is once these jars cool off, you're going to want to label them as pickled okra, put today's date on it, and wait 2 weeks, okay? So I hope you've enjoyed the video. I hope you learned how to make some canned pickled okra. And please, like I said, leave me some comments in the comment section and hit that like and subscribe button, okay? Thank you again. See you soon.